Well, Gaurav, it's really nice to see you again. I trust you're keeping healthy in these challenging times.
Thank you, Rodney. I'm perfectly well and hope the same with you and your family.
Very good, thank you. Thank you very much. So you lead the international tax practice for KPMG in India, and I'm just curious, Gaurav, what has been the reaction in India to the recent global agreement regarding BEPS at the OECD level?
So, Rodney, if you look back, I think India's, along with maybe China, has been a proponent of the source rule or the market-based taxation for a longest time. So, in fact, there has been no reaction as of now. And I'm sure at the back end, the Indian tax authorities are actually smiling that the whole world is now looking at taxes in the same way as they've been, talking about for a while. And if you recollect, India has been pretty aggressive when it came to PE taxation in relation to agency PE, even before BEPS Action Plan 7 came into place, and they were looking at market support activities being undertaken in India as a revenue generating activity, and really, going after taxing part of the sales. Secondly, India was amongst the first one to look at equalization levy. And therefore, India's been, in front of this race. Now, like always, the devil lies in the details, right? So, in October, once the main guidelines come in, that'll be the real point when we'll really get to know the reaction from the Indian government, because especially on the Pillar 1 strategy, which comes up, because if India sees that it's not favorable or it's not in accordance with what they've been expecting, I think you could see a potential, I wouldn't call it a backlash, but I would say resistance to this. And also the second thing will be India will have to decide at some point in time what really needs to be done when it comes to equalization levy. Will they continue? Will they roll back? And whether that rollback is going to be partial, complete, retrospective, so on and so forth. But we'll have to wait till October, because the Indian tax authorities today have been pretty tight-lipped about it.
Well, so that's interesting. So there's a lot to watch for through October and beyond. It's just a lot to pay attention to. I'm kind of interested, Gaurav, where this is going really speaks to almost an increased need for tax resources at the multinational level. So I'm curious how Indian multinationals are embracing technology as we go through this thought process.
Sure. Very interesting question, Rodney, because I have a story to tell you around this. So I started working on the tax technology, or talking to clients around tax technology, and leading this initiative for KPMG 10 years back, or a little more. And around that time, we had a global survey called Tax in the Boardroom. And at that point in time, we asked questions to close to 100 countries and corporates around the world. And India was amongst the rare countries where the tax directors or the CFOs came in and said that rather than introducing technology for managing their taxes, they'd rather hire 2 more resources, because it's the cost arbitrage which really works. It's completely flipped in the last 10 years, and recently, and there are reasons for that. And one of the key reasons is that the tax authorities themselves are becoming more tech-enabled. It's more, digital. When you file the returns, or you do whatever you have to do is digital. Number 2, even the audits that happen now are going to be online audits. It's going to be a concept of e-audits, e-assessments in India. And that gives a lot of powers in the hands of the tax authorities to use the data given by the corporates and do a large set of data analytics on it. So the corporates have to be very careful at the back end as to what they are presenting is in the right and appropriate manner, and so as to not get into some unnecessary consequences with the tax authorities. So that's the change we're seeing. So what we are witnessing already is that wherever it's a transaction kind of tax involved, whether it's on the indirect taxes, the GST, whether it's withholding taxes, now dividend taxes, because India's earlier was following the dividend distribution tax, and therefore it was exempt in the hands of the shareholders. Today, there is a tax in the hands of the shareholders, and therefore that needs to be determined appropriately. And for listed companies having thousands and thousands of shareholders, the rates could be completely different and coming in from various countries. So that's another area where technology is really coming in. But the point that Rodney, you made around how these changes will impact MNCs, Indian MNCs, and therefore their requirement for more resources. The trend that we are seeing more and more is that the Indian corporates or even the large subsidiaries of foreign companies are really looking at outsourcing part of their tax activities through use of technology to to us at KPMG, because one, we've got the right solutions from a technology standpoint to support that, as well as the right technical skill sets at the back end to be able to manage that on a continuous basis. Because one is hiring more resources, but retaining as part of corporate and also training them on so many changes happening around at such a pace and something of a magnitude which will happen going forward in 2023. Most of the corporates are feeling that it may be a right way to use the technology which has already been developed by us, and therefore outsource a lot of their activities. And it's not about using our tools as much as using our services and our technology as a backend for it.
Kind of like almost extending the tax department beyond the walls of the multinational and partnering.
Completely correct. So it's following, in some sense, a dual model of having only the high level or a senior resources sitting in the corporates, whereas a lot of transactional and other work getting passed on to us.
Just fascinating, Gaurav. So, well, look, I'm looking forward to hearing the reaction as things unfold at the OECD level. October is not that far away, as we all know. And then this evolving of the use of technology and partnering is just a fascinating trend. And I'm sure, if anything, the OECD initiatives will accelerate that trend, not slow it down.
Sure, Rodney, I believe so too. In both the things, and only the final comment I'll make is that October, I'm also really looking forward to the feedback from the Indian tax authorities, because that will decide the course going forward for the corporates in India.
Well, just fascinating, Gaurav. And look, it's great to see you again. I look forward to being in India to catch up with you in person as travel opens up. Thank you for your time today. This was a fascinating perspective on what's going on today. Thank you.
Thank you, Rodney.